You all are not going to believe what happened today in an Australian court. Trans-identified male Roxanne Tickle won a discrimination case against Sall Grover, the owner of a women's-only app Giggle for Girls, after Roxanne was excluded from the app for being a biological male. So Giggles for Girls was supposed to be a safe place for women to interact with each other, and some wanted to find flatmates. Today, it is hard for women to have their own apps where they're free from males. I've made a video with my friend Ariel Scarcella, who's a lesbian. She has showed me so many men on lesbian apps who claim to be women on lesbian dating apps. But back to Australia. In Australia, domestic violence is a national crisis. According to stats, 1 in 6 women in Australia have experienced physical or sexual violence. Just wanted to say that if you're wondering why it's important to have female-only spaces. Giggles for Girls was not created to discriminate anyone. It was created to help women. Well, maybe the app does discriminate against predatory men, but how's that a bad thing? Federal court Judge Robert Brumwich found that sex is changeable. Roxanne Tickle was indirectly discriminated against, and Sall Grover was ordered to pay $10,000 in compensation and legal costs. What the actual F? Sex is not changeable. Your legal sex can change in many countries now, but not your actual biological sex. In my opinion, that judge should be fired ASAP. He has poor judgment because he's not being objective at all, so you can't trust him. Here's Roxanne's statement.
I'm pleased by the outcome of my case, and I hope it is healing for trans and gender diverse people. The ruling shows that all women are protected from discrimination.
You're such an idiot. Shame on you. Shame on you for acting like you represent trans people, gender diverse people. What happened to fighting for trans rights? What happened to trans is beautiful? Being trans means you're unique. Well, trans activists cannot fight for trans rights today because the narrative is now trans women are women. So now the fight is about getting men in women's spaces just because they feel like it. Instead of advocating for trans women-only spaces, spaces I think can sometimes be necessary, activists would rather gaslight the public. They're trying to convince people that a man is a woman if he says so, and he's the exact same as a biological female. Not only do you have to respect it, you also have to legally acknowledge it. This case in Australia is a massive setback to women's rights, because it looks like Australia is now giving men who identify as women the green light to just enter women's spaces. And that can include women's locker rooms, crisis and SA shelters, but that's madness. Listen to what Sall Grover had to say about the case.
Officially, as of today, in Australia, women do not exist as a sex class at all. Any man can claim to be a woman. We literally don't kind of exist in law, essentially, as a unique category of human beings, despite in reality being a separate category of human beings from men.
Spot on. You would expect out of all people, politically correct activists would not be misogynistic, wouldn't be anti-women. But here we are. There's a difference between supporting trans women having rights, the right to transition and alleviate their gender dysphoria, and then supporting the belief that trans women are the exact same as biological females.
When you've got laws reflecting reality and how society actually functions, then laws should actually work pretty well. But there is clearly a conflict here that needs to have a resolution, and that has not happened today. The Australian Human Rights Commission, for example, says that they're against discrimination, and this is such a great verdict because it just shows that discrimination is wrong. And you're like, well, hang on a second. Are women not being discriminated against because they have to see men as women, that we have to have men in women's spaces? This just doesn't reflect how society actually functions. We still require female-only spaces. It's that simple.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. You described this whole thing perfectly. This is without a doubt discrimination against women. It is 100% misogynistic. I don't use that term lightly. I'm not the type of person who sees misogyny everywhere I go. But I think we can all agree that being against female-only spaces, such as female locker rooms, prisons, SA shelters, is misogynistic. What is going on today? Like, men are offended that they can't be naked with other women. So Roxanne has previously stated that Roxanne is entitled to be in women's spaces such as locker rooms, to play on the women's hockey team, because Roxanne has identified as a woman for 5 years. Dude, literally, that doesn't make you a female. You can in some situations respect another person's identity, like what they choose to identify as, but no one should be forced to. It should never be illegal not to affirm someone's identity. What someone identify as means absolutely nothing. I of course think the law should be based in logic, facts, and biology. Remember people, biology, and especially common sense, should always trump predators and mentally ill people's delusions. The conclusion is, if you're an Australian man and you want easier access to women, just identify as a woman. The law will literally be on your side because you're a man. And according to Australian law, men are more important to protect than women. I'm afraid that if something doesn't change soon regarding this whole thing, we're gonna hear even more cases of women being physically hurt, sexually hurt, by men who are taking advantage of the law, the self-ID laws. And I do not want to see that happening. Thank you all for watching. If you want to see more content like this, remember to hit subscribe and the notification bell. If you want to support me and my channel, you can become a member, or I have my PayPal link in the description down below. Follow me on social media. I love you and I cannot wait to see you in the comments. Peace out.